Switch modding is very popular because of the benefits, as it unlocks a ton of possibilities for your console. But how do you know if you can mod your Switch or not? And how much does it cost? In this video, I'm going to be talking about the 2 ways to mod your Switch, along with everything you need to prepare for the modding process in detail, including how much it all costs, even if you don't have a Switch yet. Spoiler alert, it's much cheaper than the Switch 2. First off, modding your console means you are going to be installing CFW, which stands for custom firmware. The CFW that is known as homebrew for the Switch is called Atmosphere, created by Skyers M, with the first release being back in October 2018. There are 2 main ways to get Atmosphere running on your Switch. The first one is a soft mod, which means you don't have to take apart your Switch, but instead it's like uploading files from an SD card using an exploit. This is the ideal way with less risk than the second method. However, it only works on unpatched consoles. More on that later. And on the bright side, it doesn't matter what your firmware version is, as long as Atmosphere is supported on that firmware. The second method, which can be done on any Switch, is hard modding a mod chip to your console, which requires you to take apart that console and solder the mod chip inside. This is much more complicated, as you can imagine, especially if you've never soldered anything in your life like me. If you bought your Switch in early 2018 or before, then there's a good likelihood of it being unpatched, which is needed for the soft modding method. If you bought your Switch after that, then it's likely patched. It's still worth checking by using this website called ismyswitchpatched.com, where you can insert your serial number located at the bottom of your Switch, and it'll tell you if it's patched or not. If the sticker is not visible, you can also find the serial number in your Switch settings. Sometimes it says that it may be patched, so you can try the exploit, but it may or may not work. If it's unpatched, hooray, you can now get everything you need to soft mod it. If it's patched, you can certainly look into hard modding it, but that's something I have no experience in, so I can't help with that method. If you're interested in buying an unpatched Switch, then eBay is a good option, or even buy and sell pages like Facebook Marketplace, where you can ask sellers what the serial number is, but just search V1 Switch or unpatched Switch, and on eBay, as of recording this video, the tablet only can go for around 200 Canadian dollars. And before we go any farther, I want to talk to you about the risks of modding it. Nintendo obviously hates the modding community because it unlocks the potential to use pirated games, which I understand where they're coming from, but they are ruthless about it like no other company. I'm not here to tell you what to decide to do with your console, but if you go down that path, there is a higher chance you can break your console, leaving it unusable, so remember to back up your NAND and take precautions to prevent that from happening. If you're browsing the internet for things, it's worth having a VPN as well, which I use NordVPN. I'll put a link in the description if you want to look at their pricing. I personally use my modded Switch to back up my keys, firmware, games, updates, and DLC to use on Switch emulators on my PC. So I have a much lower risk of getting a brick because I'm not using pirated games, but it is still possible, so it's always good to be careful. And if you want more info on Switch emulators, make sure to check out my second channel. I have tons of guides. You'll need a computer plus an SD card reader if there isn't one built in, along with a Type-C USB cord to connect to your Switch. The cable will be used to connect your Switch to your PC, which is how you run the exploit. You'll need a micro SD card. It's highly recommended to use trusted brands to avoid any issues with faulty cheap ones like these. It's also recommended to have at least 128 gigabytes of storage space, especially if you're going to set up EmuNAND. Actually, EmuNAND, the minimum is 128. In my opinion, it's worth spending a few extra dollars on a faster SD card as well. I have the SanDisk Extreme. Lastly, what you'll need is an RCM jig. These are a tool you use during the process of getting your Switch to a state it can receive the custom firmware. It basically pushes the proper pins down in your controller slot for the exploit to work. There's technically other ways as well that don't require the RCM jig, including a paper clip and whatnot, but RCM jigs are seriously the most reliable and they're very cheap, making it a no-brainer option. You can find them on Amazon for 8 to 9 Canadian dollars. I'll have a link if you need it fast, or you can look on the cheap Chinese websites for a much better price, and unlike SD cards, you don't have to worry about name brands here. But essentially, that is everything you need to mod your Switch. If you already have a computer and a Type-C cable, here's the total cost. If you get a V1 unpatched Switch on eBay, let's say for around $225, that doesn't include the cables though, so that might be extra if you don't already have those. If you don't have an SD card reader, that's $10. 128 gigabyte SD card, a good one, $23. RCM jig, $8. The total, give or take, around 270 Canadian dollars. So what's that? Around 200 US dollars. And that's getting prices from Amazon, by the way. If you use, let's say, AliExpress to get the jig or an SD card reader, then that can save you some money there. But now that you have everything, what's next? Where do you start? Well, I recommend searching NH Switch Guide to get the official written guide on how to mod your Switch. It's best to read through it before starting to get an idea of how it all works. And if my video guide is still out, either on this channel or my second channel, you can use that as a good reference as well. So I will put that up on the screen for you to go to next. I wish you the best of luck in your modding journey on your Switch, and make sure to hit that like button if you think Nintendo's games are too expensive. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay funky and happy modding.